Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, whatever it is for you when you're watching this. And welcome to my weekly episode of the Idiot Quilter. I'm Steven. And yeah, today is May the 4th be with you. I'm not a Star Wars follower, so, but I had to say it for those that are. Okay, so have some coffee and let's get started. All right, so right off the bat, I want to give you a reminder that this coming Wednesday, which is tomorrow for me, May the 5th, 2021, is the first Wednesday of the month, and that means it's time for Craft and Chat. Yes, Craft and Chat will start at 1 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Standard Time and run until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But you don't have to feel that you have to be there right at 1 o'clock, and you don't have to feel like you have to stay to the bitter end. You can come and go as you please, because that's just the way we roll with Craft and Chat. You can just hop in at any point in time and join us and work on whatever you want to work on. It doesn't have to be quilting related. It can be any kind of art form that turns your crank. We have a core group of people that usually come out every month, but more the merrier. Everybody is welcome. It's a very supportive group, and I do not record it or anything. It's just a very informal little drop-in. Let's work on our projects, and whatever topics come up and we chat. We don't get too bogged down by things we're going through on a daily basis, because this whole session is meant to be just relaxing and forgetting for a few hours the troubles of the world. So we have no drama here. We don't discuss COVID or politics or religion or even the weather. We just share ideas, talk if we wish to, and sometimes we just have large amounts of silence as everybody's working on whatever they're working on. So feel free to join us if you can. That's tomorrow, May the 5th. May the 5th be with you, 2021 at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope to see you then. And the link for Craft and Chat, it's a Zoom, is in the show notes below. So check that out. Okay, let's get into what I've been working on. Well, I think last week, if I remember correctly, I think I did. I hope I did. I get things mixed up sometimes as to when I've shown things and when I haven't. I showed you this wall hanging that I made. And this is a piece that was inspired by Redmond, who I saw on a YouTube video being interviewed about her style of fiber or textile art. She calls this actually digital, where's her book? Digital fiber art. So I did this piece, and yeah, I wasn't particular about the colors. This was completely experimental to see what I would come up with. So I did get her book. I ordered it from Amazon, and here it is, and it's called Redmond's Digital Fiber Art. Combine photos and fabric, create your own mixed media masterpieces. And this is really good, this book. I also bought and downloaded the accompanying video, which I've learned a lot from. Now, I've only just skimmed the surface of this book because there's a lot of techniques I have yet to look at in here. But I took her basic design, her basic technique, and I created a new piece. And this is the piece I created, and I'm really, really happy with it. I'll move back so you can get a better look. So this, the trees, the collages in the center of this quilt are mine. They're original to me. I did them in Photoshop. I layered different images that have come out of my art journals, actually, and created these 4 blocks. Then what I did was I sewed it all together, the blocks together, and I used the attic window effect, so it looks like you're looking out through a window. And then I bordered it with some butterfly fabric that I had in my stash that I really like, and also because there are, if you look really close, I know it's difficult in the video to see this, if you look really close, there are some outlines of butterflies in each one of those little blocks in the center. And then I bound it. This is what the back looks like. And I did do some very simple walking foot quilting, I did pretty much stitch in the ditch around each one of the blocks, and then I added extra lines in the borders and the sashing. Just straight line. I didn't get anything too fancy, but I am really thrilled with this piece. It's definitely a one-off, meaning it's an original, it's unique, and I had a lot of fun making it. And I did do a tutorial on how I made that, and I have the link for the tutorial in the show notes below, so you can check that out. It's the Idiot Quilter special episode, digital fiber art. So you might want to check it out. Just to let you know basically what you need some tearaway or cutaway stabilizer. Okay, if you're going to do this as a fabric piece. If you're going to do it as a mixed media piece, you can use the same technique, but instead of using tearaway or cutaway stabilizer, you can just use cardstock, because I tried it and it does work. You need some light molding paste, which if you're into mixed media, you know exactly what that is, but you can pick that up at Michael's, you can pick that up at any art supply store. You can buy it online, of course, because in our area, you can't really go out to an art supply store right now. And, you know, if you are someone who does a lot of mixed media art journaling, you probably have like paints and things in your stash. And you can do a color wash on top of once you lay down the molding paste. And the beauty of this technique is you can take any picture that you have on your computer and now print it on this substrate that you've created. Now you have to keep your modeling paste thin, and the idea is to create some texture in the background. So you can create texture in a variety of ways, and I go through that on the tutorial. But you do want to keep your texture, the height of what you are texturizing in the molding paste, sorry, kind of low, because you know you don't have a lot of clearance in your inkjet printer. And you do need a special medium, and Golden used to sell it and they discontinued it. It's called Digital Grounds. However, she recommends a product that has taken the place of the Digital Grounds called Ink Aid, and it is available. Go online, just put in the words Ink Aid, and you will find it. It's not particularly cheap, but it's not terribly expensive. A little bit goes a long way in a project like this, but you do need it because it helps, keeps your ink from your inkjet printer from bleeding out or being completely absorbed into your substrate. So yeah, now I was thinking of experimenting with some other things I might have laying around as well that might give me the same effect. I don't know, but that's to be seen in the future. So anyways, if you're interested, I have the link to the book. I have the link to my tutorial in the show notes. So it's fun. And I think I'm going to pursue a little bit more in this because I've said this before. I'd like to move into making art pieces, art quilts, that kind of thing, wall hangings. And this is really my first major endeavor into that, doing, you know, this. And as I said, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Okay, and actually, if you try this technique and create a piece, be sure to share it with me. Send me a picture of it so I can show everybody else here on the Idiot Quilter. All right, so what am I still working on? Well, I'm also working on those two other quilts. One is the one that I'm doing only in the hoop embroidery, and I haven't got that much further with that. I've done a couple of more blocks, but I did get my 550E, my Janome 550E, and this past week we put up So Chatty episode 6, where Walter and I talk about the 550E, since we both have one now, and I do an unboxing as well. In fact, I picked up the 550E from Ultimate Sewing 15 minutes before we were scheduled to start recording the video for So Chatty. So we tell you everything you need to know, or what we think you need to know, about the 550E in So Chatty episode 6. And there's a link to that in the show notes. So I got that. I haven't got much further with the Potpourri, that's what it's called, quilt. I may give it a different name. Oh, by the way, I named this piece. I don't often name my quilts. Probably should, but I usually call them whatever the pattern was. But this I call Distressed Trees. I hope that's obvious. Okay, and I am still working on the Strong and Free quilt. And this one, as a reminder, is what it's going to look like when it's done. It's got that large half maple leaf applique in it, and has a lot of these blocks that they have a lot of half square triangles. So this is what one of those blocks will look like. And they're coming out quite nice. I've only made about 3 of these, and I think I need a lot. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 4. I need 24 of these to make one of these. So that's going to keep me going, and that's probably what I'm going to be working on during Craft and Chat this week. Okay, so that brings us down to, I got thinking, since I have the 550E, and we talked a little bit about this on So Chatty, about embroidery threads. I'm not going to go over the different kinds of embroidery threads that we have used, but I wanted to go over how I, 1, organize my embroidery threads when I'm doing a project, and 2, a very helpful app that I have that helps me pick my colors. Now, if we back up for a second to the organization of embroidery threads, most designs that you will do in your embroidery machine are going to call for quite a few different colors. Now, when you first get started in embroidery, and we talked about this on So Chatty, you might not have a lot of variety of colors in your embroidery thread. That comes as time goes on. You add a few more to your collection all the time. If you're like me, I'm addicted to Floriani embroidery threads, and I probably have over 400 spools of it in 400 different colors. Now you might think, well, you look at a pattern and, you know, it's calling for 3 different blues, but the blues are all look very similar in shade. Can you do it with 1 color of blue? Well, yes and no. It depends on how much detail you want your embroidery to show. The reason there are several different shades of a color is for shading effect and shadowing. And so although those colors may look very close to you when you look at them with your naked eye, once they're put in combination in the pattern with the other colors in that same grouping, it does make a difference. So, you know, I highly recommend that you, when you get an embroidery machine, you invest in a few threads. Now, oftentimes you can get sets. And I'll warn you right now, embroidery thread is not cheap. The best place to buy embroidery thread I have found, and we talked about this on So Chatty, is from a place in Quebec called Monfil, MONFIL.ca. Their thread, it's called Superb or Super B. I'm never sure what the real name is because they write it as super with a capital S, and at the end of it they put a B, a capital B. So do they mean Super B or do they mean Superb? I'm not sure. But either way, it is good embroidery thread and costs considerably less than Floriani or Madeira or some of the other ones. Walter uses it all the time, absolutely loves it, has never had any problems with it. I tend to stick to the Floriani, although I have used the Super B embroidery thread as well. The only reason I stick to the Floriani is because that's what I started with, and I've got a lot of it, as I've told you. So I've got a lot of money invested in my embroidery threads. So, but yeah, Superb is very good. And the reason I'm recommending this to you, if you're just getting into embroidery, if you want to buy a bunch of embroidery threads, then that's the place to go, because you're going to get them at a really good price, and that means you can buy more. I would suggest you probably set aside $100 to $150 if you want to get a really good variety of embroidery threads. Yes, I know that sounds like a lot of money, but look at it this way. You just invested a lot of money in an embroidery machine. You need to invest in the materials as well. I mean, when you're sewing, you're investing in fabric, right? Same difference with an embroidery machine. So, how do you keep yourself on track? All right, when you start working on an embroidery design, there's something I highly recommend that you also buy as an accessory for your embroidery machine if you can get one, and that's a thread stand. Now on the Janome, you can buy Janome thread stands, and you can buy a 2 spool or a 5 spool. I have a 5 spool on mine, and believe me, it is worth the money that those cost because they attach right to your machine. You can buy thread stands that don't attach to your machine, that stand, you know, in front of the machine kind of a deal. I don't like those ones because they can have a tendency to topple over. It depends on how much space you've got. They're just a little bit more awkward, in my opinion. But I know lots of people use them, love them. Okay, whatever works for you is all that matters. But if you can get one that has more spool pins on it, you are not going to be going back and forth as often, looking for your thread, getting it onto your machine, threading it. Now, of course, these machines I'm talking about are all single needle threads, so you can only put one color of thread in at a time. But it just makes life a little easier and easier to organize, because what I do is, since I can put 5 spools of thread, and if you count it, the horizontal thread spool that's on the Janome 550 as well, I can actually put 6 spools of thread on my machine, and I can organize them in the order that they will be needed. So when you get an embroidery pattern, it lists all of your threads in the order as they'll be sewn. So what I like to do is line up the first 5 or 6 on my thread stands, ready to go. So when one's done, I clip the thread, I pull the next one, down, away we go, bang. I just find it keeps me on track. And it's a little bit faster. But there are seldom embroidery patterns that have only 6 colors. You could have 20, 30, or more, and I have had more. So this can get a little hairy. So I recommend that you take some time when you're first getting your collection of embroidery threads and you organize them in something. I have a set of Alex drawers from IKEA, the tall set. And those drawers have all of my threads in it according to number. They're in chronological order because it makes it easier to find them as I need them. Because in the pattern, it'll have a number for the thread you're going to use. Now, does that number always match up with your brand of thread? No, it does not. And that's on the second part of what I'm talking about right now. I'm going to explain how you can use an app to help you with that. But the other thing is, I take my threads and I made with my 3D printer a little setup right here that allows me to lay my threads out. I actually need to make a second one of these because right now that pot puree one, it's using, well, if I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, I can hold 20 in this little thread holder that I made. I'm actually using closer to 40 different colors so far. And I pull my threads out for any project. I get this out and I line them up in numerical order. And so I know where to get them. And when I need to do a repeat color, because oftentimes you do, you know, you've done 3 different colors in a row and suddenly you're going back to the first color again. Well, I take them off the machine, I place them in here in the right chronological order, and it's easy to find. Yeah, you're going to say, well, that's a little anal, isn't it? Yeah, but you want to know something? I find that it makes my embroidery projects go along a little bit more smoothly, and I have less chance of screwing up the colors of thread, because it is easy to screw up your colors of thread. Now, when I'm using that, I will often put it in one of these plastic cases, the project boxes, because I designed it so that it will fit right inside here. So when I'm working on a project and I want to I'm done for the day, or I'm not going to get back to it for a while, but I don't want my embroidery threads sitting around, I will just take that whole little rack I created, drop it into one of these, and these are just the right height for my Floriani threads that I can close the lid. This is also great for transporting them if you're taking your embroidery machine and you're going to something or other, like a class. Remember those? We used to go to classes, or to a retreat. Yeah, remember those? We used to go to retreats. So this is the system I use, and it's working out for me very, very well. Now, the other thing is picking colors for your embroidery projects. Now, a lot of people feel that they have to use exactly the embroidery thread the project is asking for and exactly the colors they're asking for. Well, yeah, okay, if you want the results that the company that produced the embroidery pattern got, then yeah, you have to. But feel free to break out of the box, okay? You may not have all of the colors in that embroidery pattern. And I've heard people who have said, oh, I got this pattern, I really like it, but I can't work on it right now because I don't have all the colors for it, and it's going to take me a while to find them all. No, use what you've got. Feel free to use whatever colors you like and you think will work with your pattern. But if you're stuck, there is an app. It's put out by Floriani. You can get it on the App Store, and it'll allow you to find, if say the pattern you've got wants you to use Janome threads, okay, embroidery threads, and they'll give you the Janome number. Well, you can plug in the Janome number and it will give you the equivalent color, or one that's very close, in Floriani. And it sits on your iPhone. I don't know if it has an Android version or not. And it's really, really easy to use, and I use that a lot. I also use it when I'm looking for a color that, I don't like their shade, or I want a different one. It'll give me a range of colors as well. So I did create a little video that I'm going to insert in here right now that explains this app a little bit more. So this is an app that I downloaded from the App Store to my iPhone, and I don't know if it works on an Android or not. But it is a great little app for embroidery. When you're trying to match up your threads and you don't have the brand of thread that the embroidery pattern may ask for. So with this is by Floriani, you can find the equivalent Floriani number to whatever thread your machine is coming up with. So for example, if I put in 203, which is my Janome color, and I want to find the equivalent in the Floriani, I plug in the number and it gives me a choice of different ones. And it gives me a number for each one of these as well. Now, this also helps when you're trying to select your own colors and you might have a more limited supply, or you just don't like the colors that they're suggesting, which is fine. If you plug it in here, you can see you will get a sort of a paint chip layout, and you can pick a color from that's more appropriate. So it's a very handy app, and so you just go to the App Store and look for Floriani, and you'll see this app in that list. So I hope you found that helpful. The one thing about machine embroidery, and I love doing machine embroidery because it's not just embroidering a design on a shirt or something like that, or monogramming a set of towels. There's so many more things you can do with an embroidery machine. And if you've been a regular subscriber to the Idiot Quilter, you have seen the different things that I have been able to do with my machine. And it just goes from there. It is almost a separate hobby from sewing or quilting. There are some people that's all they do is embroidery. I like to have a variety of things. So I hope my little tips here you'll find helpful if you're getting into, or if you're already into, machine embroidery. Okay, so that takes us to the subscribers quilt of the week, and this is one we have seen this quilt before because it's by Wendy Kingen. I hope I'm saying your last name right. And I showed it a couple of weeks ago, but she sent me a video where she did a little bit more of a close-up and personal with this particular quilt, and she sent that to me. So I'm going to show that to you right now, and I'm just going to let the video speak for itself. So as always, I'm looking for your creative work that I can feature here on the Idiot Quilter. So don't be shy. Send me anything you want to send me, really, and I will feature it on an upcoming episode of the Idiot Quilter. Okay, so shoutouts this week. Well, you'll find these in the show notes. Of course, I've already mentioned Craft and Chat, and that's where the link is to the Zoom for that. There is the link to So Chatty episode 6, and there's a link to my favorite quilting store in my area, Ultimate Sewing, which will ship pretty much anywhere. And there's a link to the YouTube channel that I want to talk about this week. And there is a link to the online fabric store I want to talk about this week too, plus a link to Redmond's Digital Fiber Art, the book, and a link to my tutorial on how I did mine. So lots of information there for you that should be, I hope, a help. Okay, so YouTube channel of the week is Amy Johnson. Now, this is a really great YouTube site for information about troubleshooting problems with your machine, things about free motion quilting, techniques and designs, and just general quilting information. And I want to read to you her description of her YouTube channel. It says, "I'm sharing what I learn as I travel my free motion quilting adventure. I'm a quilting instructor and Janome dealer. My passion is encouraging others in any avenue of creativity, and my specialty is free motion quilting. My signature technique is using rulers and templates to guide free motion stitching on ruler sewing machines or sit-down long arm machines. You can learn more about me, my store, and more at amyquilts.com, or visit So Simple of Lynchburg in Lynchburg, Virginia. I enjoy sharing these videos with you. They're full of honest looks at free motion quilting, ruler work, tips, techniques, and even a few mistakes and how to fix them." So yeah, I have checked her out, and she is a wealth of knowledge. Her videos are very well done, and quite a variety. So if you're looking for a technique, or you need some help with your free motion journey or whatever, I would check out Amy Johnson's YouTube channel, and you can also check out her website, and both of those links I've already mentioned are in the show notes. Okay, so that takes us to future projects, and from my vision board, something new. This is one that is created by Alex Anderson, and most people know who Alex Anderson is. She's a guru in quilting, and she and Ricky Timms both run the online TV channel, which I'm still debating whether I want to subscribe to it or not, and I think I should, called Quilt TV. I believe it's Quilt TV, or the Quilt Show. The Quilt Show, that's what it is, but it's on something called the Quilt TV. Anyways, I'm getting things mixed up here, and sorry about that. But you've probably heard of both of those people before. Well, she has a new kind of a sew along, and it's for this. And it's called Spinning Spool Quilt. Now, I really liked the pattern, and it's a free pattern. She also has kits you can buy if you want it to look exactly like this, but it's a lot of applique. And at first I should have, but I really didn't realize that this is all applique in here. Not the spools. I don't think the spools are, but there's pieces in the spools that are as well. So the reason I know this is because she did a Facebook Live about this. I think they do a Facebook Live once a week. And so I watched it. Kind of intimidated me about doing this pattern. She claims that it's very, very easy. I'm not so sure. So I have it on my vision board. I might, at some point down the road, try it out and see. But I'm a little hesitant because of the applique. But I need practice in applique. But I thought it looks like a very nice pattern. So that's called Spinning Spools Quilt. And I think you go to get it. I think all you need to do is go to thequiltshow.com, and I think you can find the link. I think there's something, Alex Anderson's blog or something like that, and I think you can find it in there. Okay, so another project. Who knows when I'll ever get to them. Got to get the ones I'm working on right now done. All right, so that takes us to the online fabric store of the week. And this is one that I have some things on order from. I think I mentioned DinkyDoo. That's what it's called. There's a hard name to remember, right? DinkyDoo. They are in Pitt Meadows, BC. I have pre-ordered a bolt of batting from them. They had a really good price on it, and it was a pre-order. So that doesn't come until sometime in June. But in the meantime, I had been given they're running a special, they gave me a $20 gift certificate for a future purchase. So I immediately spent it, and I bought a pattern for By Annie's bag, which I have not yet received. But I'm going to come to that in a moment about their shipping. But let's talk about their fabric selection. Well, they have an absolute excellent fabric selection. They start at about $18 per yard. I have a problem with that. They're a Canadian company. We should be doing this in metric. It should be meters, plus you get 3 inches more in a meter. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. They had lots of pre-cuts, because you know how I love my pre-cuts, and very current designs. And they sell bolts of fabric as well. They have lots of sales, lots of specials, and they also have batting, of course. There's fabric is in stock. You know, you can go to a lot of these online fabric stores right now during COVID, and probably because of difficulty getting things during all of this. You go on, you see something you like, and they all come up out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. Well, with DinkyDoo, I not really have found that as a problem. It seems that everything that they show online, they have in stock. They do sell machines. They're a Janome dealer, and they have a really good selection of Janome machines. Their Notions is a very extensive supply of everything. This is an online store that is just packed. Patterns, yep, tons of patterns and kits, lots of kits too. Their thread, they seem to sell Aurifil and Glide, which are both two very popular brands, both excellent brands of thread. I use Aurifil all the time. I love it. I've never tried Glide. Glide, you can use it on a domestic machine, but I think of it more as for long arming. But they do have threads, both Aurifil and Glide, for both domestic machines and for long arm machines. They don't have any classes. At least I couldn't find any on the website listed. Now, I don't know if they do in-person classes, and right now they're not listing them, of course, because of COVID or whatnot, but they don't seem to have any online classes. They do have a rewards points program as well, and I'm not completely clear on how that works, but I think you get so many points for how much you spend on an order that you can use on a future order. Now here's shipping. Canada shipping and handling charges, it's free on orders over $199, but that's only in Canada. They do have a flat rate of $11.99 for orders under $199, which I don't think that's bad. These prices are all in Canadian dollars, of course. They do use the letter mail system, though, for orders under 500 grams and 2 centimeters in height. The pattern that I ordered it on April 20th. This is May the 4th. I have not yet received it, but I know that it has been shipped. And this is one of the problems I have with this company. Things don't seem to go out that quickly. Yes, I know they've got a disclaimer up there about COVID, which actually I really appreciate because I clicked on the Learn More button that was attached to it, and it actually comes up and tells you the date of the orders they're working on. So I could see when they were getting to my order of April the 20th. Fine. But then April 23rd came along and my order still said unfulfilled. So I sent them a little email and I said, you know, I know you're really busy and you're trying to keep up and everything like that. I said, I'm just wondering, I made that order on April the 20th, and it says that right in my actual order on their site. And you're now working on the orders from April the 23rd. I'm just wondering if I got missed or what's happening. I did get an email back from them, fairly timely, pretty quick, same day, explaining that, yep, they were just working on it now and they would send me an email letting me know when it had been shipped. And I think later that day, I got the email. But the problem is there's no tracking number. I like tracking numbers. I like to see, especially in this country with our postal service, I like to see where my package is. And there isn't a tracking number, at least for this one. I'm a little concerned about their speed of their shipping. I will be honest about that. I think they have an excellent selection. I think their customer service is good. But I do have a little bit of a problem with their shipping, even taking into consideration the problems we have with COVID. I would like to see a tracking number, and, well, I'm an impatient person. I'd like to see things get out faster, but I know that that's beyond my control, and it's probably a little bit beyond their control as well. So, anyways, back to shipping. Now, for US, they say it's free shipping on orders over $199 Canadian, which is approximately $142 US, they say here. But that's kind of nice because I haven't found too many other online fabric stores in Canada that offer free shipping to Americans. I don't know, maybe it's tit for tat. I don't find a whole lot of American stores that give free shipping to Canada at all. So, and then they had when they say in the flat rates, $11.99 Canadian for orders under $199. So basically it's the same as the exchange that makes the difference in the price amounts in the shipping. Do they have a physical store? Yes, they do. Now, one little, I don't know if I should call it a warning, but I find it a little bit annoying. I signed up for, and you pretty much have to, for their announcements. I get an email from DinkyDoo 3 times a day, minimum, telling me what's on sale, what's just come in. I'm finding these a little bit annoying, and I am going to look into turning those off if I can, because I think it's overkill. Really overkill. And you know, when you get bothered by that many emails from a company, it kind of makes you not want to order from them. So they may feel that getting the word out about all their stuff on a regular basis like that is good business. But you know, I think it can also do some damage to a business as well. I don't mind an email once a day, but 3 is a little bit of overkill. So if anybody's watching this that is associated with DinkyDoo, you might want to consider that. I don't know, it's just my opinion. Maybe other people love it. But that's a minor concern. Okay, overall, I am fairly impressed with DinkyDoo, and I'll just have to be a little bit more patient with the shipping, that's all, because I will order from them again. Okay, so the link to DinkyDoo is in the show notes. So what's coming up? Well, we've got the next So Chatty episode will be coming up later this week, and I think on this one, I'm not making a promise about this, but I think we're going to talk about probably needles and threads and maybe a few notions. I hesitate on this topic because we are not experts about needles, and needles are very confusing. Very confusing. One size does not fit all. And the more that we research needles and sizes and things like that, the more confused we become, because one company will tell you one thing, another company tells you something else. So we may tackle that issue on the upcoming So Chatty. And of course, as I've already mentioned 1,000 times, tomorrow's Craft and Chat. Hope you'll be there. Okay. Hi. You may notice that I've changed my background. That's because as I was about to edit this video, I realized I left out something I really want to share with you, and that was my quilt of the week for critiquing. Well, this one's a little bit different because it's actually not my quilt. It's one that my grandmother made and has been on the bed in the nursing home, my mother's bed in the nursing home. But it is a phenomenal quilt. And the more I got looking at it, the more I realized that this is a quilt that should not be in a nursing home where it could get lost. So I did a little video about my grandmother's quilt, the Tree of Paradise, and I'm going to insert it right here. This week I'm not critiquing one of my own quilts. I'm going to take a look at a quilt that was made by my grandmother. And this is a quilt that sits on my mother's bed in the nursing home. And it is all hand done, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I can't even get it all into one shot right here, although I have a photo of it that I took a little earlier, and I'll place that at the end of this video. But you can look and see all the detail that's in this. Now, I am not going to critique this because this is perfection. I don't know if my grandmother ever entered any of her quilts into shows or anything like that. I don't think she did, but I am sure if this one had ever been entered, it would win first prize. So I'm going to take you up and look at it a little bit closer. The whole quilt is a whole cloth quilt. The backing is anyways, by the looks of things. And each of these pieces, and I believe this quilt design is called a Tree of Life, but I'm not really absolutely sure about that. I may have to do a little research to find out. But if you take a look at it, all of these flowers, all these vines, everything are all hand applique. And it looks to me like they are what they call turned applique, which means she did not use any fusible stabilizer. She didn't use anything like a steam-a-seam for this. She laid these pieces down, cut them out, and at the time that she made this quilt, she cut these all out by hand with scissors. She probably drew out a template, traced it onto the fabric, then cut it out, turned the edges under, and then hand sewed each piece on here. Now, how she got them lined up, I have no idea how that would have been done. But it's just spectacular, and the time it must have taken. Now, let's take a look down here a little bit into the center, and you can see. And her stitches are so tiny. They're almost invisible. And she matched the thread exactly with each piece. Incredible. Just incredible. And yeah, now let's take a look at the quilting. Again, this quilting is not machine quilted. This is all hand done. She would have probably had this quilt stretched out on a frame and worked on it. But look at the feathers. that are in here. The design. She's got something that looks almost like a pineapple, but I don't think that's what it's called. It is just so beautiful. To me, this is absolutely breathtaking. And if you look at her border is all done as scalloped. Now, I don't really like a scallop border, but I think on this particular quilt, it looks phenomenal. And her binding is so very thin and delicate. Oops. If you look at the back, now, this does not feel like it has any batting in it. So that begs the question, can we call it a quilt? Or is it a bedspread? Yeah, that's a single layer of fabric, I think. No, it's not. It is not a single layer. I'm just pinching it over here on the side. And I think, yeah, I think it's 2 layers of fabric. And I'm not even sure if that fabric is cotton. It might be polyester, but I'm not sure. But it's very thin, very delicate. And if there is batting in this, and I don't think there is, I don't think there's batting, which is interesting. So this whole quilt is just an absolute work of art, I think. Am I gushing over my grandmother's skill? Yes, I am. If I could only be as half as good as this, I would be absolutely thrilled. But I can tell you this, I am never going to attempt this kind of applique on a quilt. So you get an idea of the size. This is a big quilt. I'm going to insert a still picture right at the end here. So that's it for me this week. I hope you have a good week. I hope you're happy, healthy. I hope you're staying safe, and go sew something fun for yourself. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.